All right, let's go ahead and get to the ADL head, Jonathan Greenblatt, who went on CNBC to bash and just outright brazenly lie about Zohran Mamdani, who of course is the Democratic nominee for New York City mayor. Let's go ahead and take a listen to this.
We have a mayoral candidate.
Well, that's where I want to go with this next.
Sure.
So what do you make of this mayoral candidate who likely, the rate things are going, is going to become the mayor of this city?
Yeah.
And the fact that he, was asked, as you know, 3 times repeatedly, do you condemn the phrase globalize the intifada? And for whatever reason, almost inexplicably, unless you believe he's an anti-Semite, which you might.
Let's just make sure all the viewers know the intifada was a violent uprising in the Palestinian territories where they murdered over 1,000 people simply because they were Jewish. Bus bombings, stabbings, shootings, etc. So that being said, why won't he condemn globalized intifada? Because he believes it. I mean, I think we have to take people at their word. Look, in the last several months...
That'll make it even more complicated. We had Hakeem Jeffries on last week.
Yeah.
Okay, we talked about this, and we talked about it in the context of those comments.
What did Minority Leader Jeffries say?
He almost couldn't condemn him either in that regard, because what's going to happen is if he wins, people who even disagree with him on things like this will think that they have to agree with him.
Look, whether you agree with President Trump or a would-be Mayor Mamdani, we have to deal with elected leaders as they are. But I think there are questions we should ask right now. Like, this candidate has visited churches and mosques, not a single synagogue. This candidate has gone to Harlem to meet the black community, Washington Heights to meet the Latino community, Chinatown to meet the Asian American community.
And
not once to a Jewish neighborhood.
The last poll I saw, something like 32 or 33% of Jewish Americans in New York were supporting him.
Fairly respectfully, Becky, I don't believe the polls, because I know something about this candidate. He hasn't been to any of the mainstream Jewish institutions. It would appear, I mean, I haven't heard from him. I don't think the heads of most of the major Jewish groups have.
I mean, forget the polls. How many voted for him in the Democratic primary?
I mean, relatively speaking, we know that the way that that worked out was actually a pretty low number.
Okay, first of all, why anyone takes this man seriously at this point is an absolute and complete mystery to me. Second of all, what brazen lie, nearly every word out of his mouth is just a brazen lie there. So he says, oh, he hasn't visited a single synagogue. Put T2 up on the screen. What do we see here? Lo and behold, wonderful to be back at this synagogue on the Upper West Side last night for a mayoral forum on the critical issues facing the Jewish community in this election. And frankly, the fact he hasn't reached out to Jonathan Greenblatt, in my view, is a major point in his favor. And that's really, I think, what Greenblatt is mad about. If he hasn't gone and, kissed the ring of Jonathan Greenblatt, then any other outreach that he's done to the Jewish community, which Becky there points out, by the way, this guy is doing better with Jews in New York City than any other mayoral candidate. But if he hasn't kissed Jonathan Greenblatt's ring specifically, then it really doesn't count. We can put D4 up on the screen because they did a good job of breaking down every single one of the lies that in that short clip that Greenblatt tells. So they say, contrary to Greenblatt's assertion, Mamdani attended Shabbat services in Park Slope in February, visited the offices of the UJA Federation for a town hall co-hosted with the Jewish Community Relations Council in May, participated in 2 separate candidate forums at Congregation B'nai Jeshurun, sorry guys, butchered that, in Manhattan in June. Nonetheless, during the Democratic mayoral primary, he also made an effort to reach out to the more than 700,000 Jewish voters in New York, including a visit to an annual legislative breakfast in Flatbush, heavily Orthodox neighborhood in Brooklyn, with a politically conservative electorate. He also, Greenblatt, claims that Mamdani did not reach out to Hasidic voters in their native Yiddish language. Also a lie. He gave an interview to a Yiddish language Hasidic newspaper. There were photos circulating on social media showing pro-Mamdani Yiddish language campaign posters on a pole in Borough Park. He's relying on a senior team of Jewish professionals for his campaign. And this whole globalize the intifada thing is such total and complete bullshit. First of all, if he did say it, I'd support it. But he never actually said it. And he has shifted to even saying he would discourage its use since he got so much scrutiny and pressure put on him over all of this. So just utter and complete lies out of this man's mouth and zero ability to reckon with the fact that actually the strongest candidate in the field, both in the primary and now in the general election with Jewish voters, is Zohran Mamdani, who, yes, is an avowed anti-Zionist, who is pro-BDS, who thinks that the war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu should be arrested if he ever came to New York City. And guess what? New York City voters agree with him, not with you.
Yeah, well said. And I think it's actually just very interesting because it's a couple of different areas that we can look at. The ADL has a lot of institutional power, but it is increasingly losing a lot of its political power.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think that's what's very important. And just to show everybody, though, that the institutional power they have, I found this story recently. I wanted to break some of it down. Can we put D3 up on the screen? There were apparently very recently a huge fight in the teachers union, in the NEA, over rejecting ADL materials, basically propaganda materials, to be used by teachers to teach, quote, about anti-Semitism. So apparently what happened is that the members approved a proposal inside of the teachers union to sever all of their ties with the ADL over the war in Gaza.
Yeah.
But the executive committee overruled basically this and rejected it, saying that they will continue to work with them over, quote, anti-Semitism or Holocaust education. So, as you can see there. But the reason why I think this is very important is what they say for them is they're blaming union rules or any of that or whatever, is that they still have a huge hold on a lot of the nation's institutions, from Twitter to the U.S. government, working with the Trump administration, working with the Biden administration. As we saw previously, they assembled a lot of the target lists, or at least helped for some of these deportations of these Israel critics who were students who, again, literally were here legally, did nothing else other than criticize Israel. And now a lot of their materials, because of this legacy stuff that they've done on the Holocaust, continues to kind of do the work of pro-Israeli propaganda. So it's just one of those where, you know, the beast of the ADL, if you really want to like dismantle it, it's not just, it's important politically to actually have candidates who outright reject them, but those candidates then need to look at all of the other areas that they're influencing, like censorship, misinformation, and this. That's why I think it's really important to spotlight.
And this guy gets booked on across cable news.
I mean, you and I were talking when he was on. I'm like, why is this man on CNBC? Like actually, this is a financial network. You know, when I put CNBC on, I'm like, what's the stock of NVIDIA? What's Jensen got to say? That's it. Bloomberg or any of these other places. This channel is on every office on all of Wall Street all day long. They watch it for financial news, not for any of this. Sometimes they have politics on, like Charlie Kirk or whatever was on the other day, but even that was about tariffs and that was about the economy. This in particular, it's like, what is the purpose of this segment other than to basically weaponize and, you know, like mobilize like the Wall Street, New York City elites to try and continue their failed like anti-Mamdani campaign. Now so far, it's like, look, Ackman and et al. Have all tried. It's all come up nothing because you have nothing. They have no like plan or ability to stop Mamdani from getting elected at this point.
Yeah.
He's gonna be mayor.
Their fantasy is that everyone except Andrew Cuomo drops out of the race, which is a fantasy. It's not happening. But even if it did, even in the polling, when it is a head-to-head, Zohran still wins because Cuomo sucks. People don't like him, right? He's terrible. He's out there humiliating himself the way he's posting on a daily basis. Like, your plan has failed. So, and they do not want to grapple with reality. That's why he's like, oh, I don't believe the polls. Actually, if you'll recall, in the Democratic primary, the polls wildly understated Zohran's support. Wildly. Because he completely was able to change the electorate. He actually shifted the electorate and brought out so many more young people than were anticipated. So don't be surprised if the polls are once again underestimating his support, because it's very difficult to predict in these sorts of elections with a candidate who is so unique and who himself is able to change who shows up to vote. It makes it very difficult to do the polling and for it to ultimately be accurate.
Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.